The first problem, we're going to do some simplifying. So I'm going to factor the top and I'm going to factor the bottom. On the top, I get x plus 4 and x minus 3, because that will multiply to give me a negative 12, but add to give me a positive 1. This next one, there's multiple ways you can do it, but I'm going to do it the AC method. So I'm going to take 2x squared minus 5x. I'm going to multiply the a times the c, which is minus 6. So I need factors of 6, 1 and 6 and 2 and 3, but which will subtract to give me 5, and that subtracts to give me 5. So I'm going to rewrite this middle term as a positive 1x and a negative 6x, because together that gives me a negative 5. So I'm going to factor by grouping. This first group I can only factor out an x, which means I'm dividing out an x, and I'm left with 2x plus 1. The next one I'm going to divide out a negative 6, because the negative is the sign. When I do that, I get x plus 1. I made a short mistake right here. I have to leave that as 3. The only reason why I multiply the a times the c is to give me this 6 right here. So this should be I'm actually going to start this piece over. I would start the video over, but then I have to redo all the problems that I've already written. So let's do this one more time to make sure we have it right. A times c gives me negative 6. So I have 1 and 6, 2 and 3, and that needs to subtract to give me 5, which is this one. So I'm going to change this middle piece to a positive 1x and a negative 6x and bring everything else down. The first piece I'm going to factor out an x, so that gives me 2x plus 1. And the second piece I factor out the sign, which is 3. When I subtract or divide out, I get positive 2x plus 1. So in common, I have 2x plus 1. Left over on the outsides, I have an x minus 3. So last piece is I'm just going to cross off what is in common top and bottom, and I have x plus 4 over 2x plus 1. There's my final answer. Sorry for the confusion on that one. Next piece, I see division. So dividing fractions is as easy as pi. Flip the second and multiply. So what I did right there is I'm dividing by the reciprocal. So now we're going to factor. Top left, I factor out a 5 and I'm left with an x plus 1. Bottom right, I factor out a 10 and I'm left with an x plus 1. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and cancel top to bottom. Those are in common. And let's just kind of simplify. 5 times 5 is 25, x to the third on the top. I have a 10 and an x on the bottom. So now, 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 goes into 10 twice. I can rewrite x to the third as 3 x's. So I can cancel one of these x's with one of those x's. And on the top, I'm left with 5x squared. On the bottom, I'm left with 2. All right, next piece I'm adding, so I need a least common multiple. My least common multiple is the factors, x plus 2 and x minus 1. So in this first factor, I have an x plus 2, so I'm missing an x minus 1, top and bottom. The second one, I have the x minus 1, so I'm missing an x plus 2, top and bottom. Now I'm going to rewrite the numerator. 3x minus 1 plus 4x plus 2 all over the least common multiple of x minus 1, x plus 2. Now we're just going to distribute 3x minus 1 plus 4x plus 8 all over the least common multiple. Combine my like terms, 7x plus 7 all over x minus 1, x plus 2. Now, I would accept this answer or factor out a 7. So either one of those answers, and since this was a multiple choice problem, only one of them will be there. All right, this top one. We have to add this piece together just like we did, and then we have to add this piece together. So let's go ahead and start with a 1 over x plus 1 over y. My least common multiple is an x and a y. So this first one, if it has an x, it's missing a y. The second one, if it has a y, it's missing an x. So on the top, I get x plus y, or y plus x, over the least common multiple of x, y. So this piece right here is y plus x over x, y. This piece right here, so let's go ahead and make that green. My least common multiple is going to be x, y. So I'm missing an x, y here and here. So I would get xy minus 1 over xy. So sometimes it's easier to rewrite this. So let me make a box. Y plus x over xy divided by xy minus 1 over xy. Sometimes it's just easier to see it this way, because then we can say dividing fractions is as easy as pi. Flip the second and multiply. Well, now when I multiply, I can cancel this with this, and my final answer is y plus x over yx minus 1. This next problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute both of this. Pow, multiply now, which means power to a power. So I have 9 to the negative 1/2 power and 144 to the negative 1/2 power. Well, with exponents, if I cross the line, so here's my line, I can change the sign of the exponent. So if this is negative right here and I bring it down here, it becomes positive. Same thing here. It becomes positive. Now, two ways you can do this. Put this in parentheses, raise it to the 1/2 power, and it will get you a number. Put this in parentheses, raise it to the 1/2 power, and it will get you a number. If you have an older calculator, this piece will have to go in parentheses too. Another way to look at this. This is the second root of 144. This is the second root of 9. So they're square roots. So my final answer is 12 thirds. Square root of 144 is 12. Square root of 9 is 3. And at this point, I can divide that last piece, and my final answer is 4. Same thing here. I'm going to distribute to every piece. Pow, multiply now. Negative 2 times 6. 5 times 6. 6 times, this is a negative 1/2, so negative 1/2 times 6 is negative 3. 6 times 1 is 6. So I'm going to simplify this a little bit more. Anything that's negative, negative exponents travel, or if you cross the line, you change the sign. This one's positive, so it stays. This one's negative, so it crosses the line and changes the sign. This one's positive, so it stays. The next thing you have to ask yourself to finish this: are there more x's on the top or more x's on the bottom? There are more x's on the bottom, so we're going to move the top one by doing the opposite, and I get x to the 9th. Are there more y's on the top or the bottom? Well, there are more y's on the top, so I leave them at the top, and I move the smaller one by doing the opposite, and I get y to the 24th. Last problem. I'm going to start by factoring this. 24. 2 goes into it 12 times. 2 goes into that 6. 2 goes into that 3. 3 goes into that 1. So if I rewrite all this out, this is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. 7 x's, 8 y's. So from here, if there's no root, this is a root 2, I'm going to group things in like 2's. So there's a group of 2's, so that comes out. So I'm going to factor out a 2. There's a group of 2's, 2 of them, 3 of them. So x, 3 groups of 2's come out. 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of y's come out. And left over is this piece, so 2 times 3 is 6. And I also have an x.